Hi, Mylar Melodies here at Gift Music, Synth and Tech with Andy from Roland.
Hello.
Hi. Andy is here to show us how to use the pattern sequencer in the Fantom O series of Roland keyboards to really quickly get together track ideas. So if you are thinking about one of these, or if you've got one of these machines, watch this video because we're going to explain how to come up with ideas and just really quickly get them down. So first though, we've got chapter markers, of course, but Andy is going to give us a quick demonstration of a song. So What can we do?
Let's go for it.
Very good. Nicely done. So, firstly, kind of what is the pattern sequencer, and show us how to do what you just did.
Yeah, sure. So the Fantom O, we can run up to 16 sounds at the same time. So on my main screen on here, if we go to zone view, we can see what sounds that we have assigned in what we call a scene. So in this particular one, I was using 8 different sounds. And then in the sequencer, when I press sort of pattern in the sequence over here, this is our main sort of clip sequencer screen. So you can see across the top on here, we have the 8 individual instruments that I've got. And underneath it, we're able to create clips or patterns for each individual instrument. And then we can mix and match patterns, and we can then decide if we want to group some of them together to make like song sections. And then once we're happy with that, we can go to song mode and drop them in order and build up our song. So it's a quick way of getting your ideas down when they're in your head and sketching out songs.
I also saw you were like muting things on the pads as well. Like it seems there's more control and for real-time jamming.
Yeah, exactly. So the sampling pads or performance pads on here, if you press this button that says pad mode, we can use a number of different functions. So they default to being sample pads for triggering audio samples. But when I press pad mode, you can see there's a number of different things on here. So I could, I can use them to solo or mute different zones, or I could actually, if you didn't want to select patterns with a touchscreen, you can trigger them from the pads if you want.
Okay, cool.
In the performance, I was using it on mute, which allows us to quickly mute different patterns in what we were doing. So to sort of begin with, I'll say what instruments we've got going. I've got a drum kit on my first channel on here, which is muted. So there we go, lesson 1. And then I have a string sound. Then I have a nice juicy bass sound. I've got some percussion, and then I have this pluck sound. In fact, actually, I've got 2 instances of that. So I have this, and then I have the same thing again, but I panned it to a different side. I have a lead synth, and another thing for solo as well. So the first thing that we did, in the performances, I needed to build up a drum pattern. I didn't actually build that up live in the performance, but we just made it and had it muted. But the Fantom has got a TR Rec style sequencer. So you're familiar with the Roland TR909, the TR8S, TR8S, but the TR808 as well.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. The TRX sequencer is a great way of very quickly programming drums. So I've selected my drum kit. If I press the TRX mode, this allows me now to program a pattern, and I could do up to 64 bars if I wanted to, but I'm actually just going to do 1 in this case. And if I choose my kick drum, which is this bottom key, I can now, on these buttons over here, on my 16 steps, I can put in where I want the kicks to here. So on this particular track, I've got 1, 8, and 11. If I press play, and then I repeat the same process. I find my snare, put that on. I've got a clap sound, and then a hi-hat as well. And you can do things like you can change the scaling to sort of 32 notes if you want. But for this example, we're just keeping it straightforward, really. And then you can use this to write melodic content if you want to, but it's really handy for making drums. So in the performance, I start off with that muted, actually. And then when we want to start recording our loops, so the track began with, I have this ping sound, which is just running all the way through it, and it's a really easy one for us to record. If I hit record on here, this brings up my recording screen. So I can choose how long it is that I want to record for. In this instance, I just want to record 1 bar, and I can put input quantize on, so it keeps my timing exactly on the grid. And I've also given myself a counting of 1 measure. So when I press start, we'll hear a counting of 4, and then it's going to start recording my 1 bar, and I'm just playing on the offbeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's recorded there. And you can see on the screen here, it's just sort of cycling around like a clock. So you can see where we are in the loop, which is cool. So I repeat the same process for other instruments. So I select my strings over on this side. And in this instance, we're going to do the same thing, but I'm just going to record 4 bars in this instance. So I've got a bit of a longer phrase. So when I press start, I'll have my counting of 4. It'll then start playing my other material, and I record over the top. So 1. And you can see this is going around, but because this is a longer phrase, the clock sort of is going around slower because it's a 4-bar loop. So that's cool. And we repeat the same process for the other instruments. So I'm now going to go to my second instance of this pluck sound, and we'll record 4 bars of that as well. That's cool. I also, before we started, I have programmed in a percussion loop, actually, which is muted, but I'm going to unmute it at this point, so we've got that going on as well. So now we can record a bass line. So we'll go to number 3, which I've got this Jupiter 4 style bass going, and hit record, start again. So that's cool. And actually, we can do a bit of additional extra sort of recording on that. We can program in some automation if we want. So actually, if I press solo at the top on here, I'm just going to solo that bass sound. So we're just listening to its own. And if we go at the bottom here to edit and go to my piano roll, you can in here, you can edit the note information if you want. You can draw things in, or if you make a mistake and you want to quickly adjust it, you can do. But if I go to this button at the top, which is for my automation, I can then draw in different parameters. So if I find my cutoff on here, and I can just sort of draw it in using the touch screen. And then when I press play, it'll play that back.
Nice.
So that's cool. And we can do that for different parameters. And you can also, you can change the grid. I've got it quite fine at the moment because I want it smooth. But if you want it to be a bit more loose, you can do. Or you could just draw in a line to make it smoother, which is nice.
Can you adjust the timing of individual notes? Like I'm thinking to sort of slightly humanize.
Oh, yeah.
Timing.
You mean sort of unquantize things?
Yeah, or just take a single note and just slide it forward and backwards a little off the grid.
Yeah. In fact, actually, if you really want to get into that stuff, the microscope screen, it kind of gives you a MIDI message for each one, and you can specify. You can see like my note on value. You can also adjust it by the tick value there. So you can really get into that if you want. So let me just unsolo this. So we've now got our bass part running here. And what I want to do is I want to unmute the drum part, but in the performance I created sort of a bit of a breakdown kind of feel, and so when I unmuted it, I also triggered a master effect. So master effects allows you to apply an effect to the whole performance, so the whole keyboard. So I set it to be on this super filter, so it's like at the moment it's a high pass filter, so it's shelving off all of that bottom end to make it feel a bit more compact. And what I've done is I've assigned that to be triggered by this S1 switch over here. So when I press this, you can see it's bringing in this effect in and out. So when I play the track and turn this on, and it filters it out, makes it sound a bit more like a radio. So in the performance, I play it and then I unmute the drums at the same time as pressing this. And I also mute out the bass line and the strings. So this is what that sounds like. So we play this, and then I mute out a couple of things, unmute the drums, and trigger the effect. What I'm going to do now is mute a couple more things and turn off this, and then unmute everything. And that brings the whole track back in. So you can sort of create like a little bit of a breakdown almost with the filter using all this, and then unmuting everything.
Wicked.
Some of that. So almost there really with it. So a couple of other additional sounds. So I programmed in like another lead tone. Same process as before. I've just selected the sound, hit record, and press start again. And really, that's the process of creating all of the loops. So as I did in the performance there, this is how you can use it to sort of very quickly build a song live and perform it to an audience. But if you're home and you think like, oh, I like this, actually, I want to program it into a bit more of a structure, we can do that as well. So I'll talk about, we have grouping, which allows us to sort of group different patterns together, and then also the song mode. What I've done is I've just copied a couple of extra patterns down. So if I think I've got a pattern there and I think, oh, I'd like that, but in another location, I can go to pattern utility, find that I want the one that I want to copy, press copy, choose a new location, and paste it in there as well. And, if you want, when you're just sort of having a play around, you can click on individual clips to start them, or you can choose to start a whole row of clips by hitting the side there. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to program it as if that's kind of like our loop. So for instance, say if I like this ping sound and the bass line, so if I like that as my intro, what I want to do is I'm going to group those together and call them an intro. So I go to grouping and I hit set. And I'm just going to quickly rename it to A. So this is, say, our A section. And then say if we want to bring in the drums as well with those 3 elements, that can be our B section. So do the same thing, group those together, go to my grouping option, hit set, and I will just rename that to be B. And let's just exit out there. And then this top line where we've got all of these running together, I want that to be the main section, so we'll call that C. So I'm going to group those together, go to this one, set that, and we'll rename this C. And any time I want to see what I've got in the different sections, I can just tap on this little audio icon on here, and it'll show me, what I've assigned in those groups. Then the last thing I need to do is I just need to, for the groups, is to say how long each one is. So because it sort of it doesn't begin with how long do you want these groups to be, like how long do you want them to group round. So it sets them as 1 bar each, but I'm just going to set them to be 4. So all 3 of them will set it to be 4 bars. So that's cool. And now when I want to create my song arrangement, I just go to make song. And the idea is I just drop them in the order that I want to hear them. So if I want to hear section A first, press add, and then I can have B and C. Maybe I want to go back to A, but we'll have that twice, and then B and A and C, whatever order you want. And then you just press play, and it plays them in order for you. So on and so forth. And you can even choose to, if you want to mess around with arrangements, you can skip over different sections, or you can delete different bits. And that's kind of it, really, in a nutshell. So the sequencer is very fast, it's very intuitive, and it's really creative as well. You can just assign sounds very quickly, and everything is saved within a scene. So you can just move to a new scene, create a new song, and away you go.
So before you were saying, before we were filming, that there are a number of ways of getting sounds kind of out of the Fantom into your DAW. I don't know if it's worth mentioning those, because obviously this seems really good for coming up with song ideas, and people might just want to port them over and work on them.
So there's a couple of different things with the patterns themselves. You can you can export them as MIDI files or something, or if you wanted to, you can resample the audio performance onto the sample pads and take it out, or just trigger it in a song, which is cool. If you have a computer DAW, over USB you can record 16 stereo channels of audio, so 1 for each of the instruments, and you can record that straight into, any DAW, but we also have deep integration with Logic Pro X and MainStage on the Mac, and also Ableton Live, both on PC and Mac. In fact, actually, it comes with a copy of Ableton Live Lite in the box. So you can record straight away in, you can trigger clips, and very quickly sort of get some stuff down, which is cool.
Wicked. Cool. Well,
Nice.
Andy, thank you very much for giving us a little bit
That's
of a tutorial. Cool. Thank you for your time. And any questions, please leave a comment. Obviously, if we can get you to sort of answer the questions, but by proxy, we can answer your questions, of course. And obviously, we'll link below to the Fantom O series. So if you want to check out more prices and just get more information about these keyboards, then down below. So thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.